Um, so this is always good. So now that I kind of have this figured out, like if you're going to be gone and you're like, I don't know if you're filming today, but if you're doing anything up front, can you film? Tell me, and then I can film up front and just record it. Most of the time I do if I'm teaching anything like big. Okay, so hold on. All right, so we're going to annotate together Bush today. And remember, we are just looking at skill number 2 today. So my friends at home, you are welcome to unmute yourself when I ask to talk, and your voice, like the voice of God, will come from like the ceiling in our room and speak down across everybody. So that will be interesting. So we are doing skill number 2, which is, remember, we're going to look at claims and support. And remember, like, for me, you'll probably hear me say evidence more than support. Same thing. I just don't want to confuse y'all, but I mean, that's just kind of typically been my language, is the idea of evidence. So what did we say a claim has to be? It has to be what?
An arguable statement.
Arguable, yep. An arguable statement. All right, so we're going to struggle a lot with responses for multiple reasons. Most of the time it is because I'll be like, that's factual, he actually said that. All right, so here's how we're going to start. We're going to move past the rhetorical situation because we did all this together, right? So once we get a little further in, I'll copy all of our stuff onto here for us. But for right now, just for claims and evidence, we don't need that. So I'm going to start. Good evening. Guess what? There's no claim. That's not a claim. It's just a greeting, right? So I'm going to move past that. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist attacks. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices. Secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. I don't know why I put that in parentheses, because I don't think it is. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat, but they have failed. Our country is strong. So when we write a claim, and I'm going to do this at the top of my box because we're going to use the box for other things, I'm just going to mark it as a C, and I'm going to actually go in and write like what he claims. So Bush argues, and notice like I use this word, and we call this, you might hear me call it like a marker verb. We have lists for like rhetorically appropriate verbs. And I will give you a list. So and probably I'll give you multiple lists of these. We give you things called yellow pages where we actually copy them on yellow paper. And yellow pages back in the day were like phone books, right? Like that's where we would find phone numbers for businesses because we didn't have Google and we didn't have cell phones. We just had our home phones like long time ago, right? So those were, we had to always use those. We needed those. So we give you yellow pages because those are things that you can reference and use all the time when you do writings. So when we do a timed writing, you'll say, can I pull out my yellow pages? Absolutely. The more you use your yellow pages, the less you'll have to use them later, right? So I encourage you to do that. I also encourage you to pull out like our samples and stuff that we've done together. Work that we've done together, essays that you've written, that you have rewritten with me, so that when you write your next one, you go, okay, this is what I did before, now this is how I can improve it, right? So all those things I allow you to use, okay? So, Bush argues what? You have 1 minute, talk with a partner, you friends online, y'all can chat with each other through chat. Talk with somebody around you. Bush argues what? It cannot be factual. Ready, set, go. So if y'all want to talk at home to each other, y'all can chat with each other.
I'm surprised I got it to pull up on my iPad.
Hey, is your computer still not working?
My computer's not working, but I got it to work on my iPad. So
Okay. Like I think, like, can you see it okay?
yeah.
Okay. So I think also like I can figure out how to print on Coach Wardog's printer, and I have legal paper, so I'm thinking I can play with it and figure out how to run stuff so I can have copies right there. So, and I think they'd come out better than like on the printer. So, all right, here we go. Bush argues what? I have a couple of responses online. I'm going to take y'all's first, and then I'll kind of combine the ones online too. So Bush argues what?
That we have a strong country.
Okay, that we have a strong country. In that paragraph, does he do that? The whole thing?
Towards the end of the thing.
The end he does. But I think you have to talk about the whole thing.
Okay.
Close. Listen, if you're not saying stuff in here and I'm not shooting you down at least 100 times before Christmas, you're not doing something right. All right, what else?
Bush is arguing that the attack is against the nation as a whole and its values rather than just against
Too much. What else? Hold on, let me read one online. He argues that the country is unaffected. Yes, all these things are true. But we have to talk specifically about what is in this paragraph. What is he physically talking about in this paragraph? Like what's a summary of this paragraph?
He said that he argued that this attack caused terrible sadness, disbelief, and a quiet, unyielding anger.
Yep, that's what he said. What is the whole paragraph about? Not what he's claiming. What is the whole paragraph about? The physical attacks, okay? So the physical attacks are what he's talking about. That's the what. That's a fact. So remember, how do we move from a fact to a claim? Miss Smith is a teacher. Fact. Miss Smith is the best teacher. See, I've already taught y'all. The best teacher, okay? We moved from a factual statement to a claim. So he is speaking about the physical attacks. What about those attacks?
How terrible.
Yes, my fourth grader 3 years ago could have said terrible.
How awful.
Awful. Bad. Yes, they are terrible, bad, awful. Yes. What were we going to say? Yeah, those are his words. These attacks, what about these attacks?
Destructive.
Deliberate.
He says that too. What'd you say? Actually, he says no. Okay, so somebody online says that the terrorist attacks were to frighten and to cause chaos. So what if we label this and say Bush argues I don't know if argues is the right word. Bush argues the chaos, the terror attacks caused. So that's where we would say it would move into arguable, the chaos. I kind of want to tweak that. It doesn't have to be perfect right now, but now here's where we go find our like support or what I call evidence, right? What is the best piece of evidence in there that supports the idea of chaos? Look in there and see. Now, if you find a piece of evidence that you like and you're like, well, that doesn't really fit chaos, it would fit this. Talk with a partner, 1 minute, go. The best piece of evidence.
Like, best piece of
So, Julie, I think your response is right. Margot, I think your response is right.
I also think thousands of lives were saved.
I think we have to be careful, like looking at like early on in the passage, because early on, his first opening, he says, I mean, I don't know if Margot, I would say unaffected, right? Like he lists all these people that died, right? So surely we were affected somehow. I think we have to be careful to not take away what he might say later. So he's arguing something very early. So like what he argues is like these are the attacks that happened. So we try to find a descriptor for those attacks, like we would for Miss Smith as a teacher. We have to put a descriptor in there that somebody could argue, right? All right, what evidence do we like in there? Now listen, when we're looking for evidence, we're looking for a couple of things. When I talk about evidence, I'm going to put this up here. When I talk about evidence, I talk about, you'll hear me say high dollar. I want high dollar evidence. Meaning I don't want like evidence that is, like for here I don't want it to say like deliberate and deadly terrorist attacks. It doesn't really get me very far, right? What else am I going to say about that? So when I talk about high dollars, we want to, and when we look at more evidence, you'll see, like I want you to be able to look at that piece of evidence multiple ways. I want you to see that that piece of evidence impacts different parts of the rhetorical situation differently. I also want you to be able to interpret it different ways. So I'll kind of show you those things as we go along. So I want high dollar. If you choose cheap evidence, you get cheap analysis and you get a cheap grade. That's a what? Okay, we'll see. What's your evidence? God, don't be scared now. All right, what's good evidence in there that you're like, ooh, that could be something?
The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and quiet and yielding anger.
Yeah, I think we could do this. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings. So notice, we're looking at actions, right? Fires burning, action. Huge structures collapsing, right? So we're looking at these are actions. So I think that's one thing that I would look at, right, is the idea of good, solid evidence. What? Nope, don't need it. Hold on. So look at what we did. So I'm going to get into a little bit of analysis, but not much, okay? So when we talk about chaos, what is chaos? Like, how do we define chaos? What is chaos?
A lot of unstructured things happening.
Okay, I like that. Yes, unstructured. I would say uncontrollable things happening, right? Okay. So, when I look at this piece of evidence, that supports that. And here's what I like in this class is you can choose a piece of evidence, and as long as you can explain to me how or why that piece of evidence supports that, you're right. If you tell me what it means, you're wrong. So here's what's going to happen in this class. A lot of times in this class, you will say stuff that is absolutely true, meaning you're right, but you're not right in relation to analysis into that claim, right? So you'll give me a lot of summary and paraphrasing and tell me the author means this. I don't need you to tell me what it means. I need you to tell me what is its purpose. There are differences. So really what y'all have been doing most of your writing career in literature is telling me what things mean, not why the author is using it, right? Y'all never read Tale of Two Cities in pre-AP, which is a whole nother lesson, but like you have to look at like why did Dickens choose that character at that moment to do that thing? Not what he did, but why did he choose for him to do that, right? So we always look at the why the author did something. So when I go to evidence, and we're not going to do a whole lot of analysis today, I have to look at the how or the why it shows whatever you're trying to claim. So, if we believe that chaos is unstructured and uncontrollable, why does the flying, the burning, the collapsing, how does that show chaos? Okay, so those verbs and actions, right, are not the norm. What else? Well, I would hope not, yes. That's not necessarily chaos, though. So think about this. If something is chaotic, where are you in the chaos? Are you involved in the chaos? Some of us might be. But usually when you feel like things are chaotic, what is your role? An outsider, a bystander, right? So why are things seem chaotic? Because we don't have control of it. We are a bystander. So if you are on the ground watching the burning, the collapsing, the flying, you are a bystander. There is nothing you can do. So that creates chaos, right? Okay. Welcome to AP Lang. All right, paragraph 3. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world. And no one will keep that light from shining. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America. With the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for our strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. So, Bush, what was my last word I used? Argues. Bush asserts what? You have 1 minute, talk with your partner. Remember, you need to look at the whole piece. Talk with the partner, go. So Jonathan, I saw your message. So I think the last part of that is right, like the idea of the actual visualization of stuff into buildings, right? But you have to look at the very specific things. But then like lives ended early. I think if you're looking at that list, then if you're referencing that list, then that would be what I would reference, right? Like the list of the people. I think that is really specific. Margot, and I like that thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil. That's good, but doesn't leave us a whole lot of room to go back in and say more about it. Like the evil, yes, but like that's why I think freshman, sophomore year, we didn't have a lot of a lot of work on picking the best piece of evidence. Y'all's evidences were like really obvious, I think, like freshman, sophomore year, like there's really only one thing that everybody's gonna pick. So here, we have multiple things that we can pick. So, all right, Bush asserts what?
Bush asserts that terror attacks can't shake American resolve.
Nope, that's what he says.
Go for it. Yep, go for it.
I have he asserts that America is an unbreakable nation. Okay, still close to what he says. It cannot, that is factual, right? It's factual because that's what he says in the text. That is what he's saying. That is not what he is claiming. Okay, go for it.
He's like kind of claiming that even though America was like hit with like the worst worst possible thing that could happen. Like the nation didn't like draw on that negativity and it like pulled out the best parts of themselves to like fight it.
What's one word that says that? One thing that I don't want is I don't want our claims to go on and on and on. Why? Because when I ask you to do analysis, you've taken out everything that you can say because you've said it all in your claim. So what does that show? Perseverance. Okay? Bush asserts America's perseverance. Now, what you said is perseverance. Does that make sense? Like what I'm seeing online is perseverance. I like the idea that we are unbreakable, but that's still going back to his words, right? All right, so now let's look at a piece of evidence. One of the things that I like about looking at paragraphs is we can also look at patterns. Patterns is rhetoric. Patterns are rhetoric. Patterns show us language. So what patterns do y'all continue to see in this in this body paragraph?
He states like the evil first and then the bounce back.
Da-da-da, that's it right there. The first part he says this is the evil, or this is what like literally happened, or what they wanted to happen. The second part of the same sentence is how America responded, right? So the pattern that we see here is going to be first like the action of the terrorists, and then on the other part it goes to America's response. So what piece of evidence do we like the most in there? Well, those come together in one sentence. So what like specific piece of evidence do we feel like in there we like the most? That shows America's perseverance. The what?
It's like towards the last, like 2 sentences.
What piece of evidence in there do we like? Now, when I'm talking about evidence and support, I'm not talking general. I'm talking specific. Go put your finger on it. What is the good piece of evidence?
These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American.
That works for me. So here, we have a contrast, right? So again, this is what happened. And notice when I annotate, y'all don't have to, but when I annotate, I put hearts around conjunctions. Why? Because when we see a conjunction, there's some reason for it. I mean, obviously, but when I see a heart and I step back and I have all these lines of stuff, if I see a pattern in those conjunctions, there's something in there for me to look at, right? The idea of but means this happened, but this was the result. This was what was expected, but this was our response. So a but means like a shift, right? And means like things that had to happen together. So when I see those things, that's what I look at, right? Okay, so we look at things a little differently, okay? So when I talk about steel, outside of the context of the passage, what is steel? What do you know about steel?
It's really strong.
Okay, it's metal, it's strong. Usually unbreakable, right? In this instance, they shattered it. Okay, so the idea of shattered shows a weakness. So what we felt was like the strongest thing was not just knocked down, it was shattered. There's a difference there. But what is the American resolve? Outside the context of this passage, what is the American resolve?
Volunteering.
Okay. What else? What else is American resolve? Resolve being like what we are founded on, what we believe in, what we go back to when things go wrong. Freedom. Yes, I see freedom in our responses. Yep.
Can't go wrong with charity.
Do what?
Charity.
What?
Charity.
I mean, okay. I'm like with volunteer and charity, like I don't know what that has to do with like where we are right now.
Unity.
Unity, good. Okay, so you're close with the idea of like giving back. So what would we call that? Okay, kindness. Not charity, not the same thing. Listen, I teach words. You're not going to win an argument with me with words.
Patriotism.
Yeah. Okay. So notice he says they cannot dent. So notice the difference between a dent is just a mark that can be fixed, right? So this is why I call this high dollar, right? Because we could talk about steel. We could talk about the difference between shattered and dent, right? We can talk about resolve. So what is he saying? So again, this is the physical action that happened. What is this? They can damage us physically, but
Not
They
emotional.
can't break our
Yeah.
spirit.
yeah, spirit, emotion, mental, yes. That is AP Lang. Yep. Yep, brain hurts. So, I mean, you could have taken the part before, right? Where he talks about like shake the foundations, but they can't touch the foundation of America, right? What is the foundation of a building? They physically like broke those, but what are we founded on? What are our founding principles? They can't break those, right? Because a foundation holds up, creates strength, right? Supports a building. Again, you get the same like physical, emotional on both sides. All right, paragraph 4. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks. The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. All right? Bush claims what? Talk to your partner. 1 minute. Go.
I guess like
Talking mainly
We have the best
about like what he did,
ways
like
to fight back.
Did all my friends yesterday online take the test? Ruda, I don't remember you in class yesterday. Did you take the test? I don't remember giving you the test. Am I speaking to myself? Can y'all hear me? Yes? Ruda, you listening to me? I need a response. Did you take the test yesterday?
right, like the real world.
Just message me in chat. Okay, that was my bell. Give me 1 more minute. I'll finish this and I'll tell us what we're doing. All right, tell me, what did Bush argue? Jonathan, I'll get you 2. Bush argued what? Bush claims what?
Bush claims America's resilience.
How? Because I feel like we don't want to repeat perseverance and resilience, right? So I like where you're going. Let's add resilience and what?
Superior to other countries because of their
Nah,
Preparedness.
too much. Preparedness. There we go. Okay. Bush claims our resilience. Our resilience
An organization.
in being prepared, and resilience in.
Preparation.
Doesn't he say prepared? Is that still okay?
I feel like there's another word for preparedness.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there's
Readiness.
a synonym.
Okay, what about our resilience and our
It's like assets, like the things we have.
it's like all the like it's all like the well yeah
All the
it's all like okay, so here I'm gonna look at evidence real quick because the evidence that I see we go like sometimes I work backwards, right? Like sometimes I'll work backwards. So what I see in here is I see our military, our emergency teams, our government, our federal agencies, our financial institutions. So, yeah, I mean, it's like our
Competencies.
our services resilience, our governments.
It's weird.
Resources?
First responders.
No. And we don't have to be perfect. We can fix this later. Government's resilience. Because I would say like all those are branches of the government, right? Like in some shape or form. So my evidence would be like looking at those like our like I mean we can look at the idea of us in the pandemic, right? When everything hit, like what are we the most concerned about, right? Is our government still going to be working? Is our economy going to work? Are we protected physically from like being attacked while we are weak, right? Like all these things. So like I think that is our resilience, and I think those are like as Americans like our first concern of like those are the steps. So our government's resilience. So yes, those are all the things. Did I put like the how or the why? Yes. Okay. So there's our evidence, and I'll talk to you about how you would embed that evidence where it's like a list. It's not like full sentences. We'll talk about that. But okay, my ringer rang. Let's talk about what you need to do the rest of the time. 5, 6, 7, 8. Who we appreciate? No, that like, no, nothing. Okay, I just kind of heard it in my head. Nobody, like y'all are supposed to be the class that does that. So 5 through 8. Obviously, you don't have to do 9, but you're gonna do claims and evidence now. Okay, so that's what you can work on. You can work on with a partner, whatever. Tonight for homework, listen to me so you don't forget. Tonight for homework, you need to do this same thing for Obama. Don't worry about like the analysis that I just did, like the steal and all that. You don't have to do that. I just want claims and evidence for Obama. That's what you have to walk into class tomorrow with. Yes? If you're working, if you're here, you can continue working. If you are at home, you can stay. I can put you into a breakout room if y'all want to like go and talk together. Y'all can just stay. If you did not take the test, you need to stay too. So yes, y'all can work now. Y'all can talk with each other. If you weren't here to take the test yesterday, come see me. If you are online, stay with me. Okay, hold on. Just me? Okay, so I'm going to talk to them and talk to you because it's all going to be the same thing. Margot, doing the same thing through 8. Yes, because 9 is just goodbye. And then Obama. Yes, same thing. Okay. So, Jonathan, let me do this star, Elizabeth, star, Ruta. So the rest of y'all can stay. does anybody want to go in a breakout room and work for the last few minutes?
Yeah.
If not, you don't have to stay. Andrew, did you take a test yesterday too?
Yeah, so 5 through 8.
Andrew, did you take the test? Yes, no, okay, so Ruta, okay. Hannah, did you take the test yesterday? Hannah, you're not even there. Andrew, did you not take the test yesterday? Shake your head, yes, no, okay. Okay, so what y'all will see today at 2:37 in Canvas is your test, all right? You have, all it is just the prompt. There's no passage, it's just the prompt, and you're gonna have a box in Canvas, right, like to respond, and you're doing the rhetorical situation analysis. So I gave you the components of the rhetorical situation, just like we saw with like the boxes on our paper, but you're just not gonna have the boxes. So you'll type like author, speaker, and then you'll just list off the things that you're going to infer or that you know about that person, all right? Don't have to do complete sentences, just list it, make sure that you're thorough all the way through, right? It is 12 minutes timed. It's timed. So as soon as it comes up, as soon as you say like start quiz, you'll have a 12-minute timer. Most kids it takes 6-7 minutes. I'll tell you in a 40-minute essay, which we do timed writings, 10 minutes we say you need to read, annotate, plan. And out of those 10 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes are for the rhetorical situation part. Okay, so I'm giving you like quadruple the time that you would normally use. So, and you will be in a lockdown browser. So you'll be in a lockdown browser and you will have a timer. Okay, so it is open until 11:59. Okay, so you have to take it anytime between 2:57 or 2:37 it will open and 11:59. So you just have to find 12 minutes to take the test. Good? Good? Questions? All right, that's it, then that's it.
So like
Good.
anytime after school.
Yeah, you can take it whenever you want, just on your computer. Yep, after 2:37. Yep. Oh, Mateo, I'm sorry. Hey, can you change your name in Zoom? Yeah, you're good. You can change your name in Zoom, I think.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have to use a noun, like America or nation or government?
You could say we.
Could it, like, for this next one is about, like, the search and stuff, could I just say Bush argues direct action? Or do I have to have, like, a negative thing?
What about the direct action?
Or you have to say, like,
Like, you have to put a descriptor in front of it. Do you know what I mean?
kind of?
Because direct action is true.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, 2 seconds. I'm done with y'all for the test wise. Y'all should see it in there afterwards, all right? All right, all right, all right, yes.
So for like evidence, since we're not doing like the analysis part of it,
Mhm.
we just kind of like, can I just like underline some stuff in like the paragraph for like
Yeah.
my evidence? Do I have to like write anything?
No, I mean, you can if you like want to write something out, but like, I'm not asking you to do the analysis stuff, yeah. So like, and the other thing that I'm thinking online when you're doing it,
Yeah.
you could like highlight and comment out to the side if that helps too,
Well, what I
so,
was doing is I was just like underlining the stuff in there and then like I went like
to the line itself.
all that
Yeah,
stuff.
perfect, that works, yeah.